What is up, you guys? Back here, and I want to give my reaction to George Kambosos Jr. taking on Devin Haney in Melbourne, Australia, in the Marvel Stadium. Man, that stadium is humongous, and what a one-sided fight that it was. It definitely, when it comes to the game plan or whatever plan Kambosos had to fight Haney, it didn't go the way I thought it would go in that aspect. I still thought Haney was gonna win by decision. For me, I feel like both guys are not huge power punches, but if I had to say anybody that had the bigger punch in this fight, was Devin Haney for sure, 100%. Yeah, man, it was very, very interesting to say the least. I would say in the beginning, the first two rounds were the only two rounds that I think George actually did pretty good against Haney. He countering off the jab a little bit, but the jab of Haney was definitely the number one thing that he really kind of beat Kambosos. Between the jab and the movement, and the lateral movement from Haney and the rope-a-dope motion that I call it. That's what I call it. But just him moving from side to side, making Kambosos miss big shots. I don't know. I didn't like the way Kambosos fought this fight at all. I feel like for the Teofimo, even though they're two different fighters, but for the Teofimo fight, he still did what he had to do. He still fought like himself, but fought a lot smarter than he did against Haney. But then, to me, I feel like the jab from Haney tonight was a big factor, and it probably threw off Kambosos off anyways. I feel like when it comes to the jab of Haney, it was masterful. I felt Haney was definitely the better boxer even before this fight. I just thought Kambosos, I was expecting Kambosos to use his flurries to get on the inside and, make it an ugly fight and make it a fight for him compared to just staying on the outside. And that is a factor to the jab of Haney. But just him staying on the outside, even when Haney didn't throw the jab, it's super tough. He had his moments. Like I said, the first two rounds, again, that was the best moments for me that I had for George Kambosos. I still wouldn't give him the round. Tim Bradley is nice, but I probably still wouldn't give him the round. But he definitely had better moments there. But then Haney made the adjustment once round 3 started. And from round 3 on, it was just over from there for Kambosos. Kambosos just looked it off, man. I don't know. He just didn't fight his fight tonight. Haney did. Haney masterful when it comes to boxing, using his range and distance and movement. He stayed disciplined this time. I feel like I think it was Linares was the one who really rocked Haney really bad. I think like 10th to 11th round, I believe, or 9th to the 10th round. Rocked Haney really bad. Obviously he didn't capitalize on it, but Haney sometimes can be complacent. When it comes to him winning rounds and banking rounds sometimes. But nonetheless, he stood composed. His mind was ready. All the crap that was going on, the talks. And what made it even worse is Kambosos missed weight the first time around as well. That's a huge thing. He had to, once he missed weight, you have 2 hours to cut the weight. He came back in an hour, they said, and he made weight fine or whatever. Was that a thing to probably threw the fight off for him? Maybe. He's not going to say that. But, again, masterful boxing performance by Devin Haney. I expect nothing less from him. Haney I feel like he isn't the biggest, he's not a knockout artist. He's not a crazy knockout artist like some of the other guys in the division are. But he can definitely outbox you and outwork you for sure. Especially once he gets your timing and he has his own timing and his range and distance set in stone for you as the fight is progressing. Again, Kambosos, he couldn't get around the jab of Haney, and he didn't. And I feel like another thing too, every time Haney will cut, duck right under, do the spin around, to be in the back of Kambosos. Kambosos didn't follow. He didn't cut those angles the same way Haney did. If he would have cut those angles and had that timing down to cut the angles with Haney, you know, so he's able to face him and not his back, you know, not giving his back when Haney cuts those angles, you know. Definitely, I think Lomachenko would have. I think that would have been a worse fight for Kambosos if he couldn't get around that. You know, if he didn't know, he didn't really do much of cutting those angles around, especially when Haney did those type of angle movements. Kind of similar to Loma when it comes to, you know, cutting that angle. You know, Haney did not follow. I mean, Kambosos did not follow Haney, especially when Haney cut those angles. With somebody like Loma that has really good ring movement, you know, has great ring movement, and countering off those ring movements and coming back with his own shots on those ring movements, he definitely would have had Kambosos would have had a hard time against Lomachenko. And there's a rematch clause, but at the end of it, I think Haney's gonna come out on top of that fight as well. You know, the only thing I can see different maybe around the second time they fight is hopefully Kambosos throw those flurries that I'm kind of used to seeing him throw. He didn't throw much of flurries. He didn't really do much of anything in a sense. You know, he hit Haney too. It wasn't like he didn't do anything throughout the fight. He did, but it just wasn't enough to bank him any rounds. You know, it was a one-sided dominant fight. The judges got that decision right, thankfully. The referee did an okay job. I hate when referees talk way too much and stop the fight just to get a point across. You know, it's just, you know, and I feel like the production, not the production, but like the way it was presented, it was just a little crazy, you know, because like, and I mean before the fight even started, like with all I didn't like all that, you know, having to wait to get to the fight. You know, there'll be fights in the background. Meanwhile, you have Tim Bradley, Joe Tessitore. I hope I'm saying his name right. But you have those guys talking in the background. Well, there's fights there, you know. I'm pretty sure the American people was like, why can't we just see that fight as well? You know, instead of hearing them talk. Because that's basically what we heard, them talking. After that first televised fight for us, you know, then we had to wait like 2 more fights before the Maloney, and then having to wait a little longer for the Kambosos and Haney fight. But nonetheless, great win for for Devin Haney. They're gonna rematch it. No, there's no doubt about that. It was there. It's in the contract. So for Devin Haney, just getting ready for George Kambosos again, you know, and you can come up with the same game plan. Use that stick. Use that jab. That was the number one thing that he was landing the most, besides the combinations he was throwing. A great and fantastic win for Devin Haney. Great masterful class. If you love watching boxers fight the way that Devin Haney does and love the technical aspect of it, just like I do, you're going to love this fight. This fight was an amazing fight. Haney going to come back with all those belts. Guys, if you guys liked the video, make sure to throw those thumbs up. Really would appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.